Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to show you how you can make at least another 6 figures in your business this year in wholesaling real estate. And truthfully, I know I clickbaited with the 7 figures, but I believe you could do that as well, depending on how much volume you can do. And this will actually increase your volume of deals. So stay tuned, let's get after it. And again, for you guys that are new here, my name is Gino Palumba, 22 years old, Atlanta real estate investor here. And I'm here to provide as much value for you guys as possible. So let's get into the video. So like I said, this is our presentation we did in Collective Genius, me and Chandler. Now, what is Collective Genius? I kind of explained it before in other videos. It's when it's a mastermind where a group of the top investors all across the country, not just wholesalers, flippers, there's buy and hold guys, there's guys that develop. We all get together. There's about 200 of us at the last meeting we had last week. We all get together and we present on something, right? We're split into many different groups, but we present on something that we feel is a value for the people in the room. We present on a give, they call it, right? So we're giving, we want to see who can give as much value. What thing can you give that provides so much value in the room that you get voted the best presentation? Best presentation gets a belt and, obviously bragging rights. And so me and Chandler on this, we didn't win it this time, but we have won it before. But I still think this presentation is very applicable, especially for other investors and wholesalers. Let's get into it. I'm going to skip through a lot of this basic stuff here. So I'm Gino, like you guys know. 23 units, just graduated college last August. And yeah, I like fishing and traveling. Chandler's here. You guys can pause it, read a little bit more about Chandler. There it is. And then here's our numbers from last year. Again, this is our exact presentation we did. So we presented and we showed everyone, we did 1.8 last year. So far this year in contracts, we've done over about 41. I don't know what this is. This is 36. So we're already at 41. But projected marketing this year, we're projecting a double marketing pretty much. And hopefully in return, get about a 5.9 million in gross revenue. But forget about that. Who cares about that stuff? Let's get into the meat of the potatoes here. What is our give? Our give is how can you offer more than any other investor? So we use 2 tools. So one tool here is the MLS. Obviously this is a Georgia MLS, but it's the MLS. Second tool here is everyone has an MLS, is this funky Google sheet that I created. And we'll go into more detail about that. But let's go now first into how do typical investors underwrite wholesale deals, right? And we all know these formulas. 70% of ARV minus repairs, minus your wholesale fee equals your MAO. And for everyone listening that doesn't know what MAO is, it's your max allowable offer to the seller. Like what's our max offer to the seller? This is how typical investors and wholesalers, figure out their numbers, whether that's even 80% of ARV, and ARV means after repair value. So like a renovated comps. This is typical fees. And people even in CG are using these exact formulas, maybe with higher numbers, percentage wise, instead of 80%, maybe 85, but this is our max offer we can give to the sellers. This is a traditional way that, wholesalers have found their MAOs. What did we start doing differently? Well, first we started figuring out, to just calculate what is it worth as is on the market. Forget ARV or after repair value. We're only focusing on what is it worth as is on the market. Now you see in parentheses here, it says unless if there are only ARV comps. Now, so if there's only ARV comps, we have no as is comps at all, which doesn't happen a lot, then we will use ARV comps, okay? But very rarely. We also had to figure out our selling cost. What is our selling cost of selling MLS? And then another thing we had to start figuring out is what did we want our desired profit to be? So I know I'm going a little fast here, but here's an example of that sheet. So we'll start at line 2 here, market price. So in this case, we feel the home is worth $100,000, right? The price of the market, or the market price of the house is $100,000. And we want a desired profit on our deal to be $30,000. So next steps here is we start looking at our selling cost. So we're going to have a realtor fee, right? Because we're going to pay a buyer's agent when they bring their buyer. We're going to pay this freaking less than a percentage. Like a 0.0012 percentage of the MLS fee. That's where you have to pay, I believe, all across the nation. It's not just a Georgia thing. You got to pay the MLS a little bit. That equals our $30 to $100 selling cost here. And then if we do a double close, and actually let me skip that right now. We also have to pay a flat fee listing because even though we pay a buyer's agent, we don't use a seller's agent. We have our Dispo Grow do it, but we go through a flat fee listing company that puts it on the MLS and Zillow for us, right? So we pay them $500. Now, from line 4 or line 5 and down here, these are just double closing cost, right? So if we decide to double close on a deal, which we do quite often, more than novation, then we got to pay, the A to B side of all the closing costs. So attorney fees, title insurance, e-file, recording fees, state tax. We got to pay pictures no matter what, but in other expenses that just might pop up. So those are fees. Again, all of them except maybe the pictures are double close fees. And we like double closing a lot of them, even though we're losing out about $1,000. But because what we realized is, the amount of paperwork that goes into a novation, which necessarily could be just a couple documents. But if we confuse the seller at all, and we shouldn't if we explain ourselves right, but I just know in some of these deals, especially the big ones, a confused mind always says no, and we don't want to confuse the seller. So I'm fine taking the $1,000 hit if we're going to make $40K on the deal, or $30K minimum, right? So you can see at the bottom here, this kind of gives us our MAO. We're about $1,400 in difference here. So MAO, the pre-sale program, is a novation. This is what we would do if we were able to agree on terms of a seller. So let's say a seller wanted 66, we're at 64. Probably more than likely we would still try to just pitch to double close and try to get them down to 65 or something. But let's say we couldn't. We could technically say, hey, in order for us to come up our 14, or we're at 65, you're at 66. In order for us to come up the extra $1,000, we're going to need you to sign a couple more documents. And you might say, just a couple more documents, I get another $1,000 for sure. And that's going to be the novation document, right? So that's something we always can put in there. But I just want to show you guys how this works. Again, these are the MAOs down here. So after all these fees are subtracted, we could offer $66,000. $66,000. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you'll see in a minute here how much different that is compared to other investors. Now, this is the same thing you just saw there, obviously with different numbers, but this is an ARV example. So what if we don't have as-is comps? We can't use the market price, as is, because we don't have as-is comps. So let's say the neighbor's house sold renovated next to us for $230, and we believe our house needs 15 grand to get to that same level as the 230 house next door. We'll do that here, right? If we only have ARV comps. So what this is saying is, hey, if we put 15 grand into our property, it's worth 230 on the market. And we do the same 30,000. And same fees here. There's obviously a little more because the price is more expensive. And it gives us our offer of 176 double close, or 177 pre-sale program, or novation. So now let's compare. So let's compare to other investors. Now, let's say the market price, again, this is an as-is home, is 198, pretty specific, right? Well, if you do the rule for flippers, they do 70% minus repairs. But remember, in this case, we're not tracking repairs because this home is worth as is 198. So we're not putting any repairs into any of our calculators. So we'll do the 0.7 minus the wholesale fee equals our MAO. Well, you look here, that's $108,000. That's what that wholesaler would offer the seller max. 75%, 118, 80%, 128. We're at 161. We're $33,000 more than the 80% flipper, right? $30,000 more. So we all know that rapport, motivation, and hitting the pain is so important. But I'm going to tell you, 99 out of 100 times, if I'm paying $30,000 more than you, then the seller's going to come with me. There's just no doubt about it, right? So let's look at a couple other examples. Another as-is example here. Market price 175, flipper 70%, they're at 92. 75%, they're at 101. 80%, they're at 110. We're at 138, 137. 27 grand more than you. Right? And I'm saying you just as investors as a whole, and this is what changed a lot of our business here. I think this is one of my best YouTube videos. Obviously, we're presenting something, but still, I believe it's probably one of the best ones of value. And then now let's look at a real life ARV one. We got 340 Oakdale, right? 70% times 340 minus repairs minus wholesale fee is 158, right? So our max offer could be 248, and that's 70%. 80%, it would be 192, and we're still offering 50K more. So I think you guys get the hint here. But let's go into here. What if you can't get access? We use this formula as well. It gets a little bit complicated here, but basically what this formula says is, what if we have to just buy it? What am I comfortable with just buying it for? And since we have a pre-built desired profit of 30 grand, I'm fine making an additional 20 grand if it's less than 50,000 or less than $250,000. So for example, it's technically saying I want to make 50 grand because it's 20 plus that 30. I want to make, so 50 grand of anything I buy under 250. So this is good for my AMs to know, like, what if the seller won't let us get access or do MLS? Well, they can come here and know what I'm comfortable with and buying. Because yeah, we'll still try to wholesale the deal like this, but if we have to buy it, I will buy it myself. And it obviously goes up at if it's home's value, it's worth more than $450,000. I need to be making $100,000 minimum, this 70 plus this 30. Also in here, we have some interest cost. It cost me about 11% annualized for my money, flat, no fees or anything. So if we just do 2 months held on that, if we on this market price or market value, and we put 2 months of holding, that I guarantee you, and I forgot if this is the way I did it, but I bet you this is 0.11 divided by 12 times 2, which should equal the monthly rate for 2 months, the interest rate, and then I times it by 330. That makes sense. So I get $6,000, and this is what helps us get our MAO here, guys. So that's it for us. So if you guys got value from this video, I think it's a great one here. Please leave a comment down below. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, any value, please leave a comment down below. Click the like button, and thanks for watching.